Welcome back to From Invisible to Influential in Just 6 Weeks, where strategic leadership coaching meets AI tools that think with you. You're listening to the Leader Within podcast with Sue-Ann Higgins. If you listened to last week's episode, you've already started reclaiming your tiger time and protecting your peak energy hours. You're building momentum toward becoming that strategic leader who gets seen, heard, and supported. This is week 2 of our journey, and today we're diving into building your daily blueprint, another essential piece of learning to think, communicate, and show up differently. Let's continue building this breakthrough. We've been sold a lie that great leaders handle everything themselves. They jump in and fix every problem. And this proves their value, that they're being the go-to person for every crisis makes you indispensable. But constantly rescuing isn't leadership. It's a trap. You've fallen into what I call the Lifeguard Trap, one of the people try harder traps of leadership. It's that pattern where constantly rescuing, constantly fixing, and constantly intervening in problems that other people should be solving. You've convinced yourself that this makes you valuable, but really you're drowning in everyone else's responsibility. And here's what I often also hear. I have to handle this myself because it's faster if I do it anyway. My team isn't really ready for this level of work. I completely understand this fear. The belief that stepping in to fix people problems ensures quality and demonstrates your commitment. You think letting others struggle would reflect poorly on your leadership. But let me challenge this. If constantly rescuing your team was truly effective leadership, then the leaders who fix most problems would have the strongest teams, right? And we all know that's not true. In fact, research shows the opposite. Leaders who constantly rescue their teams create learned helplessness, stifle growth, and exhaust themselves in the process. When you're constantly in rescue mode, you're operating from your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Your brain burns through the glucose at an alarming rate, depleting your prefrontal cortex by up to 40%. You're literally making yourself less capable of strategic thinking by trying to fix everything. What if you stepped back from the daily fires and actually developed your team's capabilities while freeing you for strategic work that only you can do? Because here's the reality. When you rescue everyone, you're training them to need rescuing. You become the bottleneck, not the breakthrough. Today, we're talking about escaping the lifeguard trap by identifying your vital few, the 20% of activities that drive 80% of the results, and build a daily blueprint that transforms reactive chaos into strategic clarity. Let me tell you about Emma, an operations director who perfectly embodies the lifeguard trap. Emma was that leader everyone relied on, the problem solver, the one who could juggle 15 priorities while putting out fires with both hands. She wore her exhaustion like a badge of honour. Her motto, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Her typical Monday, rescue operations from 7 a.m, a supplier issue that only she could handle, a team conflict that needed her soft touch, system errors that required her expertise. By noon, her strategic planning time had evaporated into tactical firefighting. The breaking point came during her performance review. Her manager said something that stopped her cold. Emma, you're exceptional at managing today's operations, but where's your vision for tomorrow? We need strategic thinking, not just tactical execution. And frankly, your team isn't developing because you're doing the thinking for them. That night, Emma realised something. She had become so good at rescuing, she created a team of people waiting to be rescued. She was operating from adrenaline disguised as leadership. Emma had fallen deep into the lifeguard trap, constantly jumping in to save the day while a team watched her from the shore. She didn't need another time management system. She needed to understand what was driving her compulsion to rescue everyone, and she needed to build her daily blueprint. So, what's really happening in your brain when you're caught in that lifeguard trap? First, there's the helper's high gone wrong. When you rescue someone, your brain releases a hit of dopamine and oxytocin, those feel-good chemicals. It feels rewarding in the moment. But this is what makes the lifeguard trap so insidious. Your brain becomes addicted to the rescue, seeking the neurochemical reward, even when it's depleting you. Then there's the cognitive load. Every time you take someone else's problem, you're adding to your own cognitive burden. Your working memory and the Goldilocks of the brain that needs 80% of your neurochemicals to function optimally can only handle about 4 chunks of information at once. When you're managing your work plus rescuing others, you're constantly in cognitive overload. The learnt helplessness within your team cascades. When you consistently rescue others, their brain literally rewires to expect to be rescued. Mirror neurons that helps us learn by observing teaches your team that bringing problems to you is the solution, not solving them independently. That constant rescue mode triggers your fawn response, one of the lesser known trigger responses, where you prioritise others' needs to avoid conflict or disappointment. You basically want people to like you. This floods your system with cortisol while depleting the neurochemicals you need for strategic thinking. The competence-confidence loop is when you're rescuing others, you rob them of the opportunity to struggle, learn, and build neural pathways for problem solving. Their prefrontal cortex, where executive function and decision-making happens, actually weakens. The lifeguard trap makes this worse by convincing you that their struggles are your responsibility. It's why you're waking up at 2 a.m., your default neural network unable to reset, mentally solving everyone else's problem instead of resting. The lifeguard trap creates a neurological prison where you're so busy rescuing that your brain never develops strategic thinking patterns needed for true leadership. Your team's neurons are learning this pattern too. When you're always in rescue mode, you're unconsciously teaching them that dependent behaviour is normal, that they're not capable of solving their own problems. In week 2 of the Intentional Leader Blueprint coaching experience, we teach you to escape the lifeguard trap with 2 powerful frameworks. But these aren't just productivity hacks, they're pathway from rescuer to developer. The vital few comes from the Pareto principle that roughly 20% of your activities drive 80% of your impact. But here's what most productivity advice misses. Identifying your vital few isn't about making a shorter to-do list. It's about understanding which activities develop capabilities versus just solving today's problems. For Emma, her true vital few at this stage in her career were 1, setting strategic direction for operational excellence. 2, developing her team's problem-solving capabilities through coaching, not rescuing. 3, building systems that prevent problems from reoccurring. 4, creating cross-functional partnerships that distribute problem solving. Notice what's not on the list: being the go-to fixer, the emergency responder, the rescuer in chief, the hallmarks of the lifeguard trap. Then comes the daily blueprint, a neuroscience-based schedule that breaks the rescue cycle. This isn't about rigid time blocking. It's about strategic energy management that protects you from the lifeguard trap pools. Emma discovered her optimal daily blueprint: 8 to 10 a.m, strategic planning and system building. This was her tiger time, no rescuing allowed. 10 to 11:30, team coaching conversations, developing, not rescuing. 11:30 to 12, email review, identify what's truly urgent versus rescuing requests. 1 to 2, office hours for her team's questions, contained, not constant. 2 to 3:30 p.m, cross-functional relationship building. 3:30 to 4 p.m, system improvements. 4 to 4:30, planning her next day's prep and looking at what she could delegate. But here's what made the real difference. Emma learned to see that her daily blueprint was not abandoning her team, but developing them. When you stop rescuing and start coaching, you create self-leadership instead of dependence. The daily blueprint isn't about being unavailable. It's about being strategically available. And every leader I've coached who implements this framework watches their team rise to meet new challenges instead of waiting for the rescue. Escaping the lifeguard trap means you'll start letting others struggle productively, which feels uncomfortable for most leaders. If you want to start experimenting with strategic prioritization right now, here's a simple prompt you can try with ChatGPT. Help me identify which of my current activities I should keep doing personally versus delegate to develop my team. Go ahead, give it a try and see what it gives you. Remember, you'll have to try the prompt a few times so that it gives you an even better response. You'll probably get something initially like keep strategic planning, key stakeholder meetings, delegate routine reports and operational issues. It's logical, it's organised, but if you're like most women leaders caught in that try-hard lifeguard trap, you'll immediately think, but my team will struggle with those operational issues. What if they make a mistake? Or it will take me longer to explain it than doing it myself. Keep prompting until you get something that addresses your rescuer instincts. Generic AI will give you categories, but it can't understand the psychological pull of the lifeguard trap or why watching others struggle feels so uncomfortable. The lifeguard trap isn't just about delegating more. If it were that simple, you'd be doing it already. What keeps most leaders stuck is the psychology of the rescue response. The guilt of watching others struggle, the fear of their mistakes reflecting on you, the identity you've built around being the reliable problem solver or the technical expert. And this is exactly where most generic AI falls short. Sure, it can create a delegation list, but it doesn't understand your particular rescue patterns, your team's capabilities, or why letting go feels like you're abandoning them. That's why inside the Intentional Leader Blueprint, you get access to the Clarity Compass, a custom AI designed specifically around the Leader Within method. It doesn't just tell you what to delegate. It helps you escape the lifeguard trap by supporting you in 5 ways. auditing your rescue patterns through the vital few lens, revealing exactly where you're rescuing versus developing, solving versus system building, building your personalised daily blueprint with built-in boundaries, transforming your schedule from reactive rescue mode to proactive development mode. 3, providing rescue development scripts that help you coach instead of fix, turning rescue moments into growth opportunities for your team. 4, generating delegation frameworks that include capability building checkpoints. So delegation becomes development, not abandonment. And 5, unlocking self-coaching questions like, what am I rescuing my team from learning? And how is my need to be needed keeping us all stuck? Questions that shift you from lifeguard to leadership developer. Let me give you some examples. When you use the Clarity Compass, instead of a generic delegation list, you'll get something like this. Based on your pattern of rescuing operational issues, here's week 1's transition plan. Convert the supplier issue from rescue to coaching by asking Tom these 3 questions first. Set a 24-hour response time for non-critical issues by breaking immediate rescue patterns. Use these scripts when someone brings a problem up. What solutions have you considered? What would you try if I wasn't available? This develops their thinking by breaking your rescue reflex. Do you hear the difference? That it's not just delegating, it's transforming the team. The Clarity Compass wasn't just organising tasks, it was rewiring both the leader's rescue instinct and the team's dependency patterns. That's the power of the Clarity Compass. It helps you move from being the rescuer to being the leadership developer, from lifeguard to true leader. So let's imagine what happens when a leader breaks free from the lifeguard trap with the right support. Picture Emma, a composite of so many women leaders I've coached. Dedicated, caring, and exhausted from constant rescuing. When she implemented her vital few and daily blueprint, here's what shifted. She didn't just reduce her hours. She went from 60 hours to a 40-hour week while her team's performance actually improved. She could now dedicate that extra time as her team's performance improvement meant that it was freeing her week up to strategic thinking. And here's the deeper shift. Within 3 months, her team were not only solving 70% of their problems without her involvement, but because she developed them. Her direct reports started coming to her with solutions, not just problems. These are the kind of results I've seen time and time again as leaders escape the lifeguard trap. And here's what really excites me. In our next cohort of the Leader Within Blueprint coaching experience, we're enhancing week 2 with the Clarity Compass AI. So you not only get to learn to identify your vital few, you'll have a custom AI partner that helps you break those rescue patterns with confidence and clarity. Because the escaping the lifeguard trap isn't about caring less. It's about developing more. That's a wrap on week 2 of our From Invisible to Influential in 6 Weeks series. You've just discovered how to build your daily blueprint and move from rescuing to developing. Combined with the last week's Tiger Time, you're already learning to think, communicate, and show up differently. But here's the thing. Glimpsing transformation and living it are 2 different things. If you're ready to stop being the best kept secret in your organisation and want some support to turn these insights into your new reality, go to sue-ann.com.au/intentional. Discover from invisible to influential in just 6 weeks, where strategic leadership coaching meets AI tools that think with you. In our next cohort, as I've mentioned, week 2 will be enhanced with the Clarity Compass AI to help you focus on what matters most while you develop your team's capabilities. Remember, you're only one reconstructed thought away from the breakthrough you deserve in your life and in your leadership journey. Next week, we'll uncover why your ideas sometimes fall flat and how to speak so others can't help but listen. Until then, my lovely, keep leading with clarity, passion, and purpose.